Like just nuts. It almost feels unreal. He's getting amped up enough to go through the steps exactly how he knows he should. Her technique is kind of unique. My name is Justin Santos. I work at the Academy Alliance. I specialize in Olympic weightlifting and cover most of the barbell stuff at our gym. Basically, we're getting together today to break down high caliber weightlifters, talk about their different styles, their intensities, why they do what they do, or at least why I think they do what they do, my love for the sport, and why I think you guys should do it. So our first lifter here is a Japanese lifter named Toshiki Yamamoto. He's actually not doing one of the Olympic lifts in this video, he's just back squatting. They basically made an entire event out of this. In Japan, they do this quite a bit actually, where they make the background kind of look a bit like a nightclub, with really dope lighting and spotlight lighting on the person who's lifting, and they have these almost like events. So obviously super light. I love his squat style. Nice and controlled into the bottom, but then when he decides to stand up, you can really see that he decides to stand up. So that's him going from 70 kilos to 120 kilos to 160 kilos, straight to 200 kilos. Like, these jumps are crazy. But when you're that strong, I guess it really doesn't matter. And again, if you go ahead and look at other videos of Toshiki, like when he's Olympic weightlifting in competitions, right now, he literally looks like he ate his competition self. It's quite funny, actually. From 200 to 230, now we're above 500 pounds. Bar still looks like a toothpick.
Is he purposely going up weight class?
I think, honestly, it was just the result of a strength block. Because I don't think he's going to compete this big. He'll probably cut back down. So he just put the belt on for the first time at 260 kilos. Almost 600. The mood lighting's going off. So now we're above 6. 280 kilos. Like, just nuts. It almost feels unreal. So now 300 kilos, almost 700 pounds. Bar speed isn't slowing down at all somehow. And as if squatting 300 isn't enough, the lighting that goes off while he's trying to find the rack, almost giving him a seizure. Hilarious. Not enough room on the bar, they gotta rearrange the plates. So 311, 685.
First time they have to use spotters?
Yeah. And let's be honest, if he has to drop this, the spotters are dead. And again, the bar speed out of the bottom is still nuts. He really only slows down in the lockout.
So how do you train that?
This?
Like, train at bar speed?
Honestly, he most likely trained that just over repetitions, years and years, putting time and effort into his back squat. The gaining of the weight helps a lot because mass does move mass, so gaining weight just helps you move the bar faster. And in past videos in his training and in training halls, he does like pause squats quite a bit, pausing in the bottom, getting really comfortable, and then trying to generate as much force off the bottom as possible. I find pause squats really, really good at developing a strong turnaround, and by turnaround, I just mean turnaround of direction, like coming off of the bottom and maintaining maximal bar speed as you do it. Pause squats is how I would do it. So right there, they just said a 105 kilo. I'm curious if that's his body weight at this meet, which would be crazy because 105 times 3 is only 315, and he's about to squat 321, so over 3 times body weight. So weights that most people don't deadlift. And this is a common theme in Olympic weightlifters, at least, just having freakishly crazy squat, just because being able to stand out of the hole is almost the entirety of the sport. And with a crazy squat like this, you have such excess leg strength that the numbers you're trying to snatch and clean and jerk are basically, you can have almost absolute confidence in what you're trying to snatch and clean and jerk. When you can squat 700 pounds, a 400-pound clean and jerk just doesn't sound very hard. That's a 300-pound buffer in raw strength that you know you have. Yeah, just nuts. Over 700 pounds. Barely has a sticking point at all. Actually, doesn't have a sticking point. It just slows down, but the sticking point is non-existent. It's just crazy. And this kind of ties into basically the main prerequisite to having big lifts without breaking your knees or back or ankles is having monstrous squat. If you want to be successful in Olympic style weightlifting, you need to perfect your back squat, your front squat, your overhead squat. Basically all squat variations you need to have full confidence and comfort in, because that is the sport. And having an excess of leg strength allows you to attack your lifts like the clean and snatch and jerk without worrying about the technicalities of your squat. When you have a 300-pound buffer, it's just, you can attack those lifts with full confidence. And Toshiki's max clean and jerk right now, at this time, would have been around 215 or 220. And just to put that into perspective, you know, like a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but some people, myself included, would love to have a 400-pound clean and jerk as just like a lifetime goal. It's just a cool thing to be able to say you can pick up 400 pounds to your shoulders and then toss it over your head. It's just a cool goal. So putting things into perspective, he has 215, which is about, if 182 is 400, 215 would be 440-ish, 450-ish. So for him to clean and jerk 450, he needs to squat 300. So for any normal person watching who has any aspiration to clean and jerk 350 or 400 pounds, just think about what your back squat would need to be to safely approach that clean and jerk and know that you can do it without your back exploding. So again, the squat variations are king if you want to be a good weightlifter at all. So the next video, another weightlifter with a monstrous squat. Probably right now the poster boy of weightlifting for a lot of people just because of how he looks. He's fucking jacked and he looks great all the time. Whether he's competing or whether he's in off season, literally looks like a G.I. Joe. Xiaojun is a lifter from China. He mainly competes in the 77 kilo weight class, or has for most of his career at least. And he's actually super impressive because he's one of the top level weightlifters who's been in the game for the longest. Like right now, he's still competing in the A group, which just means he's competing on the Olympic stage with some of the best weightlifters in the world. And he's pushing like 34 or 36 years old, which doesn't sound old, but for weightlifting is, because most people make if you're gonna be an Olympian, you're making your Olympic debut between 18 and 20. So if you think about that, he's 34, 36. He's been at the top level of the sport for pushing on 20 years now. It's nuts. That kind of longevity in the sport is super impressive. And I think that's a testament to why he looks the way he does. All the bodybuilding, all the joint exercises that they're constantly doing in off season, he's just keeping that body in peak shape so that he can last as long as he can. And at 34, 36, he's probably approaching the end of his career, but still looks phenomenal. And again, we just watched Toshiki at a body weight of around 105, squatting 700 pounds. This guy's gonna work up to 595, so 200 pounds less, but he's only 77 kilos, so about 40 or 50 pounds less body weight than Toshiki just was in the last video, which is even more impressive to me. I love seeing the smaller weight classes lift monstrous weights, because it just, not to take anything away from the big guys, but a tiny body lifting a huge weight is always gonna be pretty badass. So again, just playing with 170, basically doing speed squats with it, spending more time in the bottom of his squat than the top. Just making sure the bottom feels comfortable, ankles and hips feel good. Now at 220, still speed squatting it, spending more time at the bottom than the top, just super impressive. You'll notice his coach off to the left, just giving him the death stare the entire time. That's probably the most intimidating coach in all of weightlifting. The Chinese team's coach, for the males at least, because they have a different coach for male and female lifters, but the male coach for Team China is intimidating as fuck. His face does not change. It's that angry face basically all the time. Yeah, jerk dips. Interesting, back squats immediately followed by jerk dips. And for those of you who don't know the purpose of a jerk dip or are looking at that, like why is he doing quarter squats? Like what purpose does that serve? Essentially that's giving him practice in timing the bar whip for the dip drive phase of the jerk. So when you hit a jerk, at those weights at least, when you dip and then try to change directions for the drive, the bar will oscillate and like bend against your front rack. And if you don't practice things like the jerk dip, sometimes at your maximal weights where the bar is going to oscillate a ton, if you're not used to that oscillation, it will throw you off and steal the jerk away from you. So practicing jerk dips just gets you used to balancing right in the feet and maintaining torso tension through the oscillation of the bar and not being like thrown around through your midline and spine. Super important stuff. And the Chinese national team, again, male or female, doesn't really matter, is huge on stuff like this. They bodybuild at the end of almost every session, or again, we don't have access to videos of every session, but it just seems like they're always bodybuilding, always doing dips, always doing back extensions, ab work, which is probably why they all look like action figures. But it speaks to the longevity of their athletes. Their athletes seem to last a long time unless they have a crazy injury. But again, first two videos, lifters with massive squats. If you want to snatch and clean and jerk heavy, go squat. So here we got Tian Tao in the weightlifting warm-up area, it looks like, for the 2019 World Championships. And he's warming up his snatch. The title of the video is saying that he's essentially going to work up to a 180 kilo snatch, so just shy of 400 pounds. And I can't remember how heavy Tian Tao is right now. I think he's an 85 kilo. So again, if you do the math on that, 85 times 2 would be 170. He's going to work up to a 180 snatch, double body weight. So one of him essentially standing on each side of the barbell, overhead in one smooth motion. Crazy. And Tian is known his nickname is Tian Heart Attack Tao, mainly because he'll open at like either the world record, and by open, so essentially at a weightlifting competition, you have them warm up in the back like this. It'll always start with snatch no matter what. And after their warm up is done, they have a predetermined opening lift, and which is handed in way before the competition even starts. They'll go out onto a separate platform in front of 3 judges, one center judge and a judge off to either side of their shoulders. Those 3 judges are essentially watching for key factors that would make the lift be disqualified or not count. Things like once the bar's locked out overhead, elbows have to stay straight. If the elbows buckle or bend, that would constitute a no lift. Like there's a bunch of little rules that would constitute a lift or a no lift. But essentially after warm-up area, you go out to the competition platform and you have 3 attempts to throw up the biggest snatch you possibly can, with it being a lift, like a successful lift. Then you have to come back to the warm-up area, you have an X amount of time, depending on the size of the competition, to warm up your clean and jerk, where you then go again out to that competition platform and try to take 3 attempts to throw up the biggest possible clean and jerk you can as well. Those 2 numbers added together give you a total, and your total determines your medal placing in the competition. And there are separate medals for snatch, clean and jerk, and total. So like you could come in bronze for the snatch, but then have such a big clean and jerk and beat your competition by so much that the clean and jerk number kind of carries your bronze snatch number and end up with the gold in the total. So there is a little bit of a stylistic approach there. Like you could be a specialist in the clean and jerk and not put so much work into your snatch and come into the snatch, or come out of the snatch rather, with 4th or 3rd place, but then absolutely smash everybody else in the clean and jerk by so much that you win the competition anyways, which opens the playing field for styles, which is really cool as well. And sorry, so earlier I started mentioning why he's Tian Heart Attack Tao. And it's because a lot of the time, whether it's snatch or clean and jerk, he opens at almost the world record. So his first lift a lot of the time is the world record, or trying to break it and set a new world record. And historically, he'll miss the first 2 and be on his 3rd lift and then hit it and set the world record on his 3rd lift. And that's only scary because if you were to miss all 3 snatches, it's what's referred to as a bomb out, and essentially you have no snatch score. So your snatch is a 0, and no one's gonna clean and jerk big enough to make up for a 0 snatch. So a lot of the time, if you bomb out on one of the lifts, you just go home, like the competition's over. So that would be the heart attack part, because at this level, you do not want to bomb out and go home, because these guys are flying to other nations to compete. They have sponsors, like there's a lot of money behind it. So for you to go somewhere and bomb out is just not an option at this level.
Did they even give you a attempt at a clean and jerk?
I think you can take your clean and jerk attempts if you bomb out, but honestly, at this level, because there's time constraints and it's like a professional competition, they may not even let you. Like at competitions that I've gone to, I've seen athletes bomb out and then take their clean and jerk just for the sake of practicing being in front of people, going through the motions of being at a competition, because it is a different environment and it's not like training at home. So in the amateur competitions I've gone to, they'll let you, but at an Olympics, they probably just send you home. And again, his technique is pretty damn slick. Like all of the Chinese athletes, male or female, have really, really smooth technique for the most part. Arms really nice and straight through the pole, all the way up into the hip. Only bending the arms once the legs have finished their extension. Like catch positions usually pretty stable. The Chinese are known for having very clean technique, little to no wasted space on the lift, which just makes them fun to watch. And you guys will notice as we go through lifters that not every lifter lifts the exact same when compared to each other, but from lift to lift, even if their technique is quote unquote not textbook or not perfect, you'll notice that those lifters in themselves have identical technique from what they're doing at the bar all the way up until their max lift. And technique is basically what's going to make or break you from being a good weightlifter, because it's essentially a dance step, and the weight on the bar should not govern how the dance step looks. The steps should look the exact same regardless of what's on the bar, whether it's a broomstick or a world record, and you're just trying to go through that same dance routine every single time until it's perfection. And if your technique is solid, and by solid I mean takes advantage of your levers, the way you're made up from biomechanical standpoint, if your technique has been optimized for you, the weight on the bar really doesn't matter. You just got to keep getting stronger and making sure that your dance step stays the same regardless of the weight on the bar, which is, in my mind, my favorite part of Olympic weightlifting. Like, it's not you versus anyone else. It's you perfecting your dance step and then becoming so confident and strong that you can do your dance steps regardless of the weight on the bar. And you just keep raising the ceiling by getting stronger and trying not to ruin your technique as you get stronger. Like, it's you versus you, or you versus the bar, depending on how you want to look at it, for your entire career, which is cool. And obviously at this level, these guys are thinking about their competitors and how much they may lift, but when Tian Tao's out there trying to snatch or clean and jerk a world record, I guarantee you he's not thinking about anyone else in the back room. He's thinking about his dance step. He's getting amped up enough to go through the steps exactly how he knows he should. He's not thinking about anybody else.
So he's right now 4 minutes out.
Yeah.
What do you think their focus is right now?
Right now, his focus is most likely just staying mindful in his moment. And it's something that I do. I have no idea if Tian Tao does it. We would have to hear an interview where he breaks it down. But I just try my best to actually not feel how heavy the bar is. And I focus on my positions. Again, the dance step. I'm trying to do X, Y, Z in that sequence. And that's all I'm thinking. It's literally counting to 3. It's counting ABCs. Like, it's just A, B, C. And he's practiced it since he was probably 13 or 10. And he, again, heart attack Tian Tao, misses his first attempt. And that was at 175 kilos. So now comes back out for the same weight, just trying to land it. Misses his second attempt. Again, this is why it's heart attack. So now he returns back to the warm-up area because clearly things aren't exactly perfect. He's got 11 minutes until his third attempt, just based on who else is out there lifting right now, because you don't get to do all 3 attempts back to back. It is dependent on who else is lifting those same numbers. So the competition bar on the competition platform in front of the judges only goes up. So let's say I wanted to snatch 100 kilos, but there's 8 other people who want to snatch 100 kilos. I'll snatch my 100. If my next attempt is 105, I have to wait for those other 7 people to snatch that 100 kilo bar before it has a chance to go up to 105 for my second attempt. And let's say one of those guys wants to do 103, I also need to wait for them to do 103 before I can get to 105 because the competition bar only goes up. So he's in the back trying to fix some things, trying to get his groove back because he's now wasted his first 2 attempts. Hits a perfect 150.
So if you were in a competition and you miss your first 2 attempts,
Yeah.
what would be going through your head?
Honestly, I'd probably be freaking out a little bit. I'd be trying to like get myself back down to earth. I'd probably put some headphones in, get a track that like puts me back in that mindset I need with like some intensity and just remind myself why the fuck I came out here. It was to do this. Just get your head back in the fucking game. The misses don't matter. You're here to do this, so wake the fuck up. Taking his time this time. And it's a perfect lift, like a little forward, a little unstable. But the most impressive part is missing 175 twice, taking 11 minutes to recalibrate, get your head right, and then being able to come out and hit 180, so 5 kilos heavier. And again, it just speaks to his nickname of heart attack because most lifters aren't gonna do that. They're not gonna miss the first 2 and come out for the 3rd one heavier and smash it. So sick. Okay, so this next lifter is named Toma Loredana. She's 64 kilo, I believe, lifter from Romania. And her nickname is the Tominator. And essentially, she's just super intense. Her demeanor stays the same. Every time she's training to get it. She's one of the top lifters on the scene right now in her weight class, and her technique is kind of unique. She doesn't lift by like a textbook variations at all. She does look different from a lot of other lifters who would be considered to have clean technique. Right there, you'll notice her weird jerk shuffle that's been nicknamed the Toma Shuffle. But essentially, she keeps her front foot planted for almost the entire movement and then will quickly move it at the last second after her back foot has touched the floor. One of those things that you should not be trying to recreate at your gym. If you're someone who's learning to lift, don't try to recreate that. You'll hurt your ankles. Just jerk normal. One of those things she probably picked up as a youth when learning the sport. I don't think her coach taught her that. It's too weird. She probably just picked that up on her own. So one of the things you'll notice with her is she tends to lean forward a lot as she pulls the bar off the floor. So what's referred to as the first pull in weightlifting is basically from the ground to about your kneecaps. And she has a style where as she goes through that part of the motion, her chest comes forward quite a bit. And again, it's just different styles for different body types. I honestly think that's because of her long legs. Toma has huge legs for the rest of her body. And I feel like as she comes off the floor, if she didn't do that, she would just be scraping the crap out of the front of her shins and she'd be bleeding all over the place. So again, just an example of stylistic changes that happen to accommodate body types. I'm curious why they called it a sneaky 116 snatch world record. Maybe she wasn't expected to do it or she takes a huge jump or something. Just so strong. Wearing a UFC t-shirt, I love that. So we're at 112 now. Maybe it's sneaky because she does it in the back and it's not competition day because right now she doesn't have her singlet on. So this is probably not the day she competes because she would have had a singlet on if it was. Yeah, that's exactly why they called it sneaky. She's gonna break the world record without even being in the day of the competition. So pre-competition in the training hall, breaking records. And it's like, if you're her competitor and you take a look over here right now and you watching her break the world record and you're trying to beat her, this would shatter your confidence. And immediately gets down on herself for a slight arm bend, like just so picky, but you gotta be that picky if you wanna be the best. She just broke a world record in the training hall and she's upset at herself for the elbow, just demanding perfection. And it was so slight. If she was in a competition, the judges may have still given her the white light, so really, just demanding perfection. It's amazing.
So explain the elbow bend.
So earlier we were talking about things that would constitute a no lift. If you're looking at the right, that little bit of elbow bend on her right elbow as she hits the bottom. So right here, she's going into the bottom. She hits the bottom, the bar hits her, and then that right elbow bends just a little bit, that little bit of bend, if you have a picky judge, would constitute a no lift. Like, it's the only reason I'm saying if you had a picky judge is because that happens so quickly that a lot of the judges aren't even going to catch that. Like, she noticed it because she's the one lifting the bar, but it happens so quick, a judge probably wouldn't have caught that. But some judges do demand perfection, and in which case she would have got one red light. And you have 3 lights on every lift because there's 3 judges, essentially a light for each judge. It'll go white or it'll go red. A red means the judge thinks it should have been a no lift, and a white means it is a successful lift. And basically it's just majority rules. So you need 2 white lights to win. Obviously 3 white lights is what you'd like, but 2 is enough. And now this is her just warming up some clean and jerks, or maybe just practicing clean and jerks, because this clearly isn't the day she competes. She's just kind of training. And again, hitting the world record in the training hall probably the week of the competition, because you wouldn't get there more than a week early, and the venue wouldn't have been set up more than a week early. So this is the week that she's supposed to compete, and she just snatched the world record, which kind of lends itself to the style she comes from. So she's a Romanian lifter, meaning she comes from the Romanian weightlifting system. They lift above 88%, so very frequently, and basically lifting their maximal effort over and over again. And I think the thought process, or at least I've heard in interviews with other Romanian lifters, in their mind, the only thing that'll lead to a PR or a personal record is work between 90 and 100%, and all work lighter than that is only making you better at doing the work between 90 and 100%. So again, most people wouldn't be trying to hit the world record the week that they have to compete, but the weightlifting system that she comes from is based on being able to train between 90 and 100% frequently. So for her, this is probably just a regular day thing, like lifting max and hitting PRs on a week where you know you're trying to PR later. That's probably just normal. She's been doing that since she started. And again, that funky foot shuffle. If you look at her feet on the jerk, the way the front foot stays down almost until the back foot hits the floor, something very specific to her and not taught anywhere that I've seen weightlifting. That delay in the front foot is a very cool thing. Still doing the foot thing, and now that it's heavier, it's becoming more pronounced, just because she needs to rely on it, because it is her technique. And again, as a 64 kilo lifter at 122, she's 6 kilos shy of moving double body weight. So again, a thing that most weightlifters when they begin aren't even thinking about. Most people won't achieve numbers like that, regardless of how much they practice, just because double body weight is a top level goal. Not to say that that's the ceiling. There has been weightlifters in history who have clean and jerked almost 3 times body weight, which is just bonkers. Yeah, seeing the foot shuffle in slow-mo is just so cool. So now she's doing a little bit of down sets. It's so funny that the world record hits 116, and then her clean and jerks are really only 8 kilos heavier. Like, so basically she went into that session, and the entire purpose of that session was to kick ass on the snatch, because her clean and jerk, she almost clean and jerked the exact same numbers as her snatch. So clearly she can do more, but the purpose of that session was the snatch. So she got it in, ended up hitting a world record on the week she's supposed to compete, which again is super impressive, and then just does a couple of light clean and jerks to make sure that the technique is there. And that, I think, is again just that Romanian style of weightlifting. We're going to snatch as heavy as we can today, even though you're probably competing in 4 days. We're just going to do it anyways to make sure it's sharp and make sure it's there. And she probably had another day within that week where it was the opposite, where they just kind of snatched to grease the wheels and make sure the muscle memory was there, and then did a heavier clean and jerk. I bet you any money, based off of that session, there was probably a subsequent session that had it reversed, where the clean and jerk was the focus and the snatch was just for muscle memory. I hope you enjoyed me breaking down the lifts and just kind of chatting about the philosophy of weightlifting and kind of how I see the sport and some of my favorite athletes. If you have any videos that you'd like to see broken down, or if you want to see me react to a specific lift or a specific lifter, send us a message or link us the video and let us know, and we'll be happy to check it out for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked what we talked about today, and hope to talk to you guys again soon. Thanks.